Punctures, something we all hate, we all want to avoid, and something that there's no good time to get. Over the years, I've been looking at various ways to avoid punctures or reduce my chances of getting them. In my search, Tannus kept coming up with their various products and solutions. This review of the Tannus Armour, this little guy here, an insert, has been a year in the making, as I've tried their insert out in 3 different bikes over the course of a year and really got to know the product really well. I've tried the Tannus Armour in the Specialized Diverge, a gravel bike in off-road riding, and the commuting and touring bike is a steel bike, the Brody, and I finally got my hands on the size I needed for my road bike. This one was a hard one to get, and why this video partially took so long to make. It kept selling out and I wasn't able to get my hands on it. Finally, I was able to try it, and yeah, I've ridden it on my carbon road bike, the Canyon. Let's start off with the gravel bike. I was new to off-road riding, and so having the inserts gave me confidence I didn't have prior to having the inserts. So I did ride this bike without the inserts originally. I put them in, installing them was no problem. The size of the tire was 40 mil, and this is the larger size of the 2 inserts I used. And then when I went out riding on the single track in Bristol here, I had just an extra boost of confidence. I didn't have to worry about pinch flats. I didn't worry about damaging the rim if I hit a rock the wrong way. I could just concentrate on keeping the bike upright. So it made off-road riding fun for me because any extra boost of confidence was needed since I was new at it. As for the ride feel, I couldn't notice any difference between the inserts being in and not. I will say one thing, I'm not a Princess and Pea type person, so maybe you might notice difference, but I can honestly say I noticed no difference between having the inserts in this bike and not. Next up, my commuter. So the Brody I commute to work every day on. The roads in Bristol and the bike path here aren't necessarily the smoothest or in the best condition. That bike, I use the same size insert that I use on the gravel bike. The tires on that are 35. That made a bit of a difference in the installation process. It was a very tight fit because the 35 is the smallest size tire this insert is good for. So I would recommend a few things, and I'll give you that list towards the end of what to consider when using these inserts. But it was a struggle to get these inserts in that. But it's also the Marathon Plus tire, which in its own, without these inserts, is a struggle for me to get on and off. It's a pretty bomb-proof solution I've got on my commuter right now between the Marathon Plus and the insert. I wouldn't go with this combination if I was starting from scratch. It's a bit of I would go for a more supple tire than the Marathon, and it's a bit overkill to have the insert and that particular tire anyway. So I would go for a more supple tire. I would probably size up and not go for the 35 just to make a bit more roomy when you're trying to install the insert and making that part of it easier. As for the ride on this one, this particular bike, it is a rougher ride with the Marathon Plus. It's not a supple tire, like I said. The PSI I have lowered, so I think it's finding that sweet spot of the right PSI for the tire and insert combination. So yeah, once I found the sweet spot, the ride is fine. I ride down a road that has 5 bars on it on the way to work. Monday morning, it is always covered in glass, and other days like too sometimes. But I don't have to worry about dodging the glass anymore. I don't have to worry about avoiding that road, and that road is my preference as far as route. So that is really nice to not have to worry about it anymore. On this particular bike, test road riding it flat. So you can ride flat with these inserts. So I don't carry any puncture repair with me on my commute. My commute is 7.5K, so worst come to worst, I could walk home or, you know, get a taxi or something. But I could also ride flat. So I tried that. I tried both the front and rear flat at the same time. I would hope to never get both tires punctured and hope to never have to ride with both flat. But you can, is the point, without damaging your rim because of the way the insert is. So the insert's 15 mils protection on the bottom and 2 mil on the sides to protect your rims. I was able to ride it. They say max 10k an hour. I do believe that. You wouldn't, it's a bit squidgy and squishy and weird feeling, and I completely flattened it, all the air out. You can ride it, it won't damage your rims, but you wouldn't want to go far, and you definitely can't go fast. Which brings me to my road bike. So the Canyon is a carbon road bike. The insert in that one is the size smaller. Like I said, there is total 4 different sizes of these inserts. With my Canyon, the rims are tubeless ready. I've already changed the tire on it once due to the impossibility of the Schwab one with that combination, the tight fitting. I really feared if I ever got a puncture on my own, I would be stranded in the sense that I could not change the puncture. So I switched the tire out. The combination is still tight. And when I tried to insert the insert, I ended up giving up basically, and I took it to my local bike shop. I would recommend, if you struggle with it, just to go get your local bike shop, do it, save yourself some grief. My tire is the smallest size this insert is good for, so again, it was a tight fit that way. So again, I would have, starting from scratch, would size up my tire to not the smallest recommended size for the insert, just to give that little extra space for the installation process. Now the ride feel on my road bike, I noticed no difference again in this particular ride. I find that the insert absorbs a little bit of the vibration, I would say even. So comfortable ride. You can lower the PSI and get really good grip if you want to, if it's raining out and the roads are slick. So I really enjoy riding with these inserts. They give me peace of mind. I'm not going to get a puncture, especially in the winter. I get cold really easily if I stop, so it's always a concern of mine in the poorer weather. The weight, you all want to know, I presume, the extra weight of these inserts. So just make sure I give you the right facts. The smaller insert in my road bike is 200 grams. I was actually able to negate a lot of that weight. So I now travel with a patch kit and a pump, no inner tubes. The inner tube savings is 150 grams for me, so that negates almost one of the inserts. I also changed my pedals on my road bike to what I call my summer pedals for road shoes. So they're carbon pedals and carbon road shoes. That, just the pedal alone, dropped 200 grams off the weight of my bike. So that negated one of the tubes. So, you know, if you're really gram counting, maybe you can negate the weight somewhere else. For me, even if I couldn't negate the weight, the peace of mind is just, yeah, it's worth it to me, those extra 400 grams total. The larger insert I had is 260 grams each. My touring bike, I don't worry so much about weight. I'm not going fast. I'm usually carrying stuff with me, so you know that would be an extra 520 grams total. So you know, a little bit of extra weight there, but on that bike, I'm generally not concerned about that. And again, I can negate it by not having, I don't carry any tools on that bike because I'm only doing short distances. So if the worst happened, I could ride flat home. So make sure you have a plan B, but I'm comfortable with my plan Bs, and yeah, I negate the weight that way. One other thing about the ride feel, the roadie I have, Nathan also has the same bike. So I did, in order to compare side by side, you know, I rode his, then I rode mine, just to see back to back if I noticed a difference. Because, you know, once you change the tires and you go on the ride, it's, you know, an hour, half an hour, however long it took. But by having Nathan's same bike and my bike, I did go back to back riding up and down the street just to see if I could notice any difference. And what I did notice is, to get the same feel between the two bikes, I lowered my PSI by about 5, I think it was, to get the same feel. So like I said earlier, find that sweet spot, adjust your PSI. You can ride with lower PSIs with these inserts, which is really nice because you get better grip. So how long are these inserts going to last? They guarantee them for 7,000 kilometers. I think you'd probably even get more than that out of them. But they guarantee them for 7,000 kilometers, which is a fair bit. I do between 8 and 10 a year. In my year using these inserts, I've really enjoyed it. I enjoy the peace of mind so much. It just makes my ride more freeing, less stressful, just more fun. So I like that peace of mind. It's worth the extra weight to me. You can decide for yourself. As far as the ride feel, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I know there in the past have been a lot of harsh rides with these inserts or solid tubes. This is not the case with these inserts. I wanted to leave you with some recommendations when using these inserts, just from my experience over the year. My first recommendation is, if you're starting from scratch and you have the luxury, is to size up your tire. Don't go with the smallest allotted tire size for the insert. It makes the installation process harder. If you're finding the installation process really difficult, I would just drop in your local bike shop and have them do it. I'd recommend going for a supple tire, so you know, not a heavy duty tire like the marathons, which already have a lot of protection built into the tire. I would go for a more supple tire without all of that built in. Pay attention to the tube size recommended for the insert you buy, and experiment with the PSI. So what you normally ride with, try that a little bit lower until you find that sweet spot. Don't be afraid to experiment. Maybe try higher, but I think you're better off trying a bit lower with these inserts. And have fun with it. Enjoy the ride. That's what it's all about. Hope you found this video informative and helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, I've been using them over 3 different bikes for a year now. Happy to answer your questions below. And in the meanwhile, thanks for watching. Until the next video.